So tell me, and it was a big event, the cultural fair. So what inspired it?
I think it was inspired by really the Northeast administration. Mr. Bolden had a vision to have a cultural fair and invite other feeder schools to participate and view it at the beginning of the year. So he had gone to Mr. Bolden had gone, our principal here at Northeast had gone to Mrs. Truax and asked her if she could form a cultural committee.
Okay.
And the cultural committee, one of the main goals would be to plan and implement a cultural fair.
Okay.
So she asked me to be involved with that.
Okay.
And right away I agreed and told Mr. Bolden and her. And so I became the chair of the committee.
Okay.
And we started envisioning the idea in like August, September, but we really actually didn't start planning it until the end of February, early March.
Okay.
So I guess I should say that's not really true. We started planning it, kind of brainstorming in January for the venue and the date. And after we decided on a location, which was our gymnasium, and then a date, March 23rd. Our next meeting in February kind of got the ball rolling a little bit, and then we really started rolling it from early March on.
So what was your goal? Like, what did you hope to achieve by having the cultural fair? I guess I'll start with that question. What
Sure.
was your goal?
So I think the main goal was to go in line with kind of our mission and statement. Our mission statement reads that in partnership with community, parents, and staff, the mission of Northeast High School is to ensure that students excel academically and professionally, conduct themselves with moral integrity, and succeed as resilient global citizens. I think that last part, being a global citizen, is very unique to our school, and because of the history of Northeast and the community here in the historical Northeast, our diversity is something unique. It's very special. And so the goal was to really kind of just celebrate and promote our cultures. So people in the school and surrounding the school and from other schools can know the different cultures that Northeast represents, celebrate them, and know that they're represented.
So besides you, Ms. Truax, I saw Dr. Saha. Was she involved as well? Who was on the committee?
So the committee was made up of about 6 or 7 people. It was myself, Mrs. Truax, Dr. Saha. It was Renee Alvarez, who teaches, I believe she teaches marketing and some other classes like that. And then Mrs. McCurdy, who teaches choir. Okay. And the music teacher.
I saw her come in the library.
Yes. And then it was also Mr. Tebby.
Saw him.
And then Miss Middleton was not on the committee, but she participated. Her Spanish students created a booth or two. So she was involved. And then also Mrs. Rudolph is on the committee, and we were involved in having our students create a cultural display as a project. Okay. So that those displays were created by our students, the French students, and the Spanish classes.
Okay, so they had the displays that were around.
Right.
So what was the criteria for the students? Like, what were they told they needed to do?
I'd just like to add that Mrs. Palmer, who's not on the committee, Andrea Palmer helped as well in kind of getting her students to make the passports and put them together. Okay, well let's back up. Okay. She helped with putting together the flags and passports. I just don't want to forget her. And really, everyone was involved. It was a team commitment because we had to have not just the committee's involvement, but the administration on board, And then we had to have, Mr. Coach Williams, our athletic director, had to assign the PE classes to be in other rooms for the day, since we were using the gym entirely, pretty much the whole day. And so everyone was involved. So your question was, what was our criteria for the cultural display? So I can tell you.
Okay.
So there's a rubric that Mrs. Rudolph created, and I'll give you that copy to look at. And so it was, the criteria was graphics and the relevance of the graphics, labels, making sure that pictures and everything was labeled, content accuracy of facts, attractiveness and mechanics, punctuation, spelling, and capitalization. And so this was a criteria, and I think Mrs. Rudolph and I had a different approach as how we assessed this, but we both, I believe, assessed this within our classes. The goal was not for other students and teachers to evaluate. The goal of them creating the cultural display was twofold. It was a project for them to learn about their own culture and to promote it by creating a graphic, really almost like an infographic, right? Board, which they did. And then secondly was to promote that and show that and present that. And that's what they did during the cultural fair at the booths.
At the booths,
Yes.
okay, all right.
So the booths were each booth represented a different country or countries. We had some that were multiple, that were the same country, but yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, I missed that part. That must have happened earlier, because when I came, you all were doing they were dancing and you were doing a
so
fashion show.
it was there. They
Yeah.
were just seated.
Okay,
And the
okay.
boards were down so that everyone could
Could
see.
see, yeah.
But it was,
How'd
they were
that-
there.
How did that go?
It was great. It was great.
Did you have a USA booth?
We did not, and it was recommended by a teacher that though the whole point was it is kind of an international fair, that we called it a cultural fair, and because we called it a cultural fair, we could include USA cultures as well. They were represented in the fashion show.
Yeah, no,
we had
I
some
saw that.
students wearing cowboy outfits, but we did not have a USA booth. But that's something that we can easily do and get more involvement from maybe the American history teachers next year to kind of work on that.
Okay, so most of the people involved were from the English department?
Okay,
and
so it was a
science?
committee planning, implementing it, and participants were everyone, every department. The ELL department, we were a huge part of it because we were assigning, our students were the main ones involved with the cultural displays and manning the booths, as well as the French department and the Spanish.
How do you think the whole school reacted? Because I don't know whether, me being here, I don't know whether they really realize how many cultures are at the school, how many different
I
countries are
think
represented.
that more teachers know more than you think, and I think a lot of our students do too. But I think that they don't really highlight it enough. They kind of tend to think, especially I think sometimes the African cultures here tend to blend in with the African American cultures,
right.
and it kind of for lack of a better word, sometimes the African American culture swallows up the other African cultures, and so you don't really differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, as an ELL teacher, like Miss Rudolph and I we know where our students are from, what languages they speak, and we can differentiate between, let's say, a Somalian student and a student from
Tanzania,
Senegal or
right.
East Africa or Central Africa. But I think that our teachers, I think, generally do know, because I had a teacher respond that she didn't see some of the flags that we had representing different cultures here in countries. She thought that we were missing some. They
Okay.
weren't. So that shows me that I think that we are cognizant of it, and that was the whole point. That going back to one of the goals of making our teachers aware and students aware, more importantly, of our diversity. That's what those flags out on the
Downstairs.
on the gym that are out on the the flags that are painted on the gymnasium
Oh,
walls
okay. Yeah,
outside.
yeah.
That's a real tradition that was done years ago.
Right, right.
You know, and the flags as well. You know, that's something that I find it. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
It was surprising that East doesn't have those flags. You would think.
I actually was thinking of that, and you
Yeah.
just said it. You know, being that Northeast, this was the original like school for the ELL for the hub. Now that's changed to East. You know, certainly, you know, East is definitely a multicultural melting pot. Even more so because of the ELL population there is like 50%.
60.
Wow. So, but certainly it would be. They certainly should have
Yeah.
some flags. That'd be great.
I know you have to eat lunch. Let me ask you.
Okay.
How do you think the students? Well, first of all, how many cultures are represented here? Do you know how many
Roughly.
countries?
Roughly, I would say, gosh, at least 30, if not more.
Okay.
I mean, I can name off. See, a lot of our Burmese students. We have a couple ethnic groups. We have Karen, and we have who are refugees that settled in Thailand. So all our kids, Karen Burmese, were born in Thailand. Our Muslim Burmese were persecuted in Burma, their families, and so they were born in Thailand as well. So they identify their culture as Burmese, but the country that they are from is Thailand. Though their culture, Burmese culture, encompasses more of that than Thai culture. They don't speak Thai. They don't, you know. So that's important. Those are our two Asian groups, biggest Asian groups. We still have a few Vietnamese. We do have a Middle Eastern. We may only have one Arab that I know of that's from the actual Middle East, North Africa, Egypt, that speaks Arabic. And then we have students, a few Congolese, Sudanese. A lot of them aren't necessarily in ELL, but Sudanese. We have a few Sudanese. We have a student from Senegal, Sierra Leone, and then we do have a couple a Senegalese family, and then a large Somali and
Okay.
Bantu population.
And what was the overall the kids' reaction? I know I was in the library and I got talked to death by one of the students. Like, she was so excited. A couple of them were really, really excited to actually show their culture off. So how did your students respond?
They responded very positively. I had some of my students tell me on Monday, a couple, that their highlight of their going into their break was the cultural fair, and they still saw that as a highlight when they came back.
Yeah.
They really enjoyed it. I thought all the student ambassadors from Student Council did a great job with, you know, representing the school
Yeah.
and being like an usher for the elementary school students that came, and that was a great experience. I don't think you got to see
Yeah, I
that
had
part,
to
but
leave.
but when this elementary schools came, they acted as ambassadors, and everyone was really excited. And the performers were great, and the fashion show participants was really good.
So how
Yeah.
can you keep this going? How can you keep the spirit going for the rest of the year? What do you think? What are you thinking about doing just to bring culture to the surface for the whole school?
I think that realistically, because of EOCs coming up and the seniors graduating, and I don't think that we'll really do any other events this rest of this year. But I think for next year, I think we are thinking of, you know, doing more things throughout the year, kind of sprinkling little things to like celebrate and promote cultures. So one thing that we have thought about is maybe having a potluck for families and then of students for the whole school.
'Cause
And then
families bring food.
And there could be performances in that as well. That could be in the fall, and then the culture fair again. We could have it in the spring, like we just did.
Okay.
And then I think there's some ways we could work it in the curriculum. Maybe we could work in with the history curriculum as well,
Right.
with the government and English classes,
Yeah,
as well
yeah.
as ELL.
Yeah.
I think we could work it in this Truex had a great idea of like sharing cultures. Like each person, you could have a group of students bring and teachers bring like 1 to 3 items that represent their culture.
That's
So it
good.
could be like a mask, it could be a piece of clothing, it could be, whatever.
Yeah.
And talk about it and talk about the significance of that.
Yeah. I think that's important.
The students jumped on creating the cultural displays. Like I'll show you one of them.
Are your kids coming in?
No,
Okay.
they're going to another class. So
Okay.
their head will appear, but they have a note to go somewhere else.
Okay.
So like one of the students, this is very unique for our students. Some of our Latino students, come from 2 mixed cultures. We tend to generalize and think, well, our Latino students, they're from Mexico, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, many are, most are, but not all, and some are mixed. So, for example, this student is from Mexico. One of her parents is from Mexico. The other parent's from Guatemala. So she highlighted both cultures. Mm-hmm. And so we have another student that is actually part El Salvadorian. So he's Salvadorian and Mexican. And we have a lot of students like that as well.
What I've learned about Latino culture is that like family is so important compared to we're more individualistic here.
Oh, yeah.
And they're so family centered and like their family is everything.
Well, Asian cultures as well.
Yeah.
And even the Somali. I'd say every
Yeah,
culture
that's true.
that's non-American U.S.
It's very family centered.
Very family centered. I think that American culture used to be. I think it's kind of in some areas. I think in more rural areas, it still is, or it's becoming again. I think it's the urban areas where we tend to be more disjointed. But I do think that in my parents' generation, families were much more tight.
Yeah, they were together.
And their extended families, uncles would live with grandparents, So it's changed. I think it's kind of starting to make a little, going back a little bit, going back. It'll, with the millennials, I'm not so sure. Like some are tending to stay home longer, and some are going out. I'm not sure what the trend is there, but
yeah.
Anyway, so in a nutshell, that's what the cultural fair was, how we planned it, what we did, what we plan on doing for next year.
2 questions.
Okay.
First is, how culturally competent do you think Northeast High School is at this particular time?
Well, so you kind of asked me that already, but just in a different way. I think that on a scale of 1 to 5, I think we're 3.5 to 4. Culture, the culture of the school. The flags represent that. The flags on the gymnasium building, the flags, and when you come in the front of the school. So right there, you get a strong message that there's a history here of culture. The culture is promoted. Though we only have 2 ELL teachers, I think we do a pretty good job of promoting our students. That's why we have the cultural fair. I think people are pretty competent. I think our students, especially not just the ELL, because a lot of the students that are even classified ELL are in mainstream. I think they're pretty competent of their culture and other differences. But the great thing is the blend of students. You see a lot of Asian students, Latino students, and African students, African American, Caucasian, all kind of hanging out together. That's one thing that I notice here. Majority of our students are people of color. That people of color encompasses so much. That's a very general term.
Right.
So I think people do know. I think you could always promote it better. But I think people are pretty competent.
Okay. There was something that was a little strange, and that was there were 2 alumni in the center of the gym that said they were judging Was that something that you planned, or was that just the?
Yes, that was planned by Dr. Saha for the fashion show. They were
Okay.
judging the fashion show.
Okay.
They were
okay.
judging the participants.
And what were they looking for?
They were looking for, I think their criteria was appearance and then mannerisms, appearance and like the performance of how they walked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I got
Yeah.
a chance to talk with one of them, and she used to be a dance teacher, and she gave me her
Yeah,
whole.
yeah. I remember that. You were at the
Yeah. So
little
okay. Well, thank
party.
you. Enjoy your lunch.
Yeah, that's cool. No,
Looking
no
forward to
problem.
the next one.
Yeah, thanks so much, Meryl.
Thanks.